Gotcha. Hey, how's it going everybody? It's the Game Economist back with another Dark Souls 3 PvP guide. Today I'll be working on the Dark Gotthard Twinswords. This is a true try-hard build. You know, when I'm doing these PvP guides, a lot of the time I am trying hard. It's just I'm using a crappy weapon like the soldering iron or recently the drang hammers. But today that's not the case. Today I'm using one of the best weapons in the game. Gotthard Twinswords is the longest straight sword in the game. Just a smidge longer than the Ring Knight straight sword and 2 smidges longer than the Lothric Knight long sword. The Gotthard Twinswords have an excellent roll catch. You know, when your opponent tries to move in on you, they have to roll backwards to get away. Because your R1 is so fast, they can't just run away, obviously. They really do have to roll back, and they almost have to, like, panic roll back. I find myself kind of doing that when I fight, like, a Dark Lothric Turtle build. This is basically the Dark Lothric Turtle build, but with just a different weapon. And in fact, you know, you could do either one. It is probably more of a preference thing. If you want to have a little bit more range, use the Gotthard. If you want to have a better weapon art, use the Lothric Knight Longsword. Lothric Knight Longsword's weapon art, by the way, gives it damage reduction. It has the R2 has some good forward momentum, and it's really good for breaking guard. You know, it does a lot of stamina damage to your opponent's guard. So that's why you would use a Lothric Knight Longsword over Gotthard's, but if you want to use Gotthard's over the Lothric Knight Longsword, you would do it because of the range. Yep. Oh, and by the way, if you were wondering what my opinion on the Ring Knight straight sword is kind of low. I don't like the weapon art. It's too easy. It has like a big tell, the weapon art does. And even though it's a long range straight sword, which is great, it doesn't do any natural chip damage. It does a tiny amount of chip damage, totally meaningless. You can't infuse or buff it, so I'm not a fan of the Ring Knight straight sword. The competition really is between Lothric Knight Longsword and Gotthard Twinswords. Let me talk a little bit about the build. So the Gotthard Twinswords are kind of heavy for a straight sword. They also require 18 dexterity, which I'm not a fan of. But hey, you know, you're going to have to, it's the same for the Lothric Knight Longsword. You got to do the 18 dexterity for them as well. So you're going to need 18 dexterity. You're going to need 18 strength if you're going to bring the Black Knight Shield, and you better be bringing the Black Knight Shield. That also gives you access to the Arbalist, but I'm using the Heavy Crossbow just because I like the way it looks, you know. So you can use what you want, but I'm just using Heavy Crossbow because it looks good. You know, typical 30 Faith, 30 Intelligence. You're going to have access to Tears of Denial or Great Magic Barrier. If you're going to be fighting a mage, use Great Magic Barrier. And then finally, you know, I had some leftover points that I could have put into stamina, but I actually put them into health, you know, into vigor. I don't know why. I've just been kind of playing around with that. I had somebody recently tell me that you don't need as much stamina as you think you do, so I'm just kind of playing around with that, seeing how I feel about it. It didn't feel too bad. It didn't seem to make too big of a difference either way. Like, I didn't feel like I had loads more health, and I didn't feel myself worrying about the amount of stamina I had left. Yeah, it didn't seem to play a big role. But what you might notice is I do take the vitality high enough in order to hold my Black Knight Shield as well as the crossbow. I want to be able to hold the crossbow at all times, right? So the crossbow is just something I always have hidden. And then the Black Knight Shield, I will trade that out with either Lothric Knight Shield, Oak Shield, or Dragon Head Shield, depending on whatever it is I need for my situation. So I do hard swap. I also have the Dark S-Stock. I never use it in the footage, but I do recommend Dark S-Stock for when you need to get like one little hit left on your opponent and they're rolling like crazy, as well as the Dark Claymore, which gives you a poise option, and you're able to dual wield that Dark Claymore. So don't be afraid to use that. For the rings, you can see I've gone all out on health regen. The Lloyd Shield Ring, you know, gives me the damage reduction. The Life Ring boosts my health. When I take a hit, I just swap down to the Sun Princess Ring, which we all know that's meta, right? That also drops the amount of your total health, which could easily trigger the Lloyd Shield Ring again. It's an old trick I learned from Damn No HTML a long time ago. It's really, really powerful. I don't always do it, because not only is it kind of annoying having to manage your rings in the middle of a fight, but I almost feel like it's too dirty, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I wouldn't want somebody to do this to me. But hey, I'm showing you guys a try-hard build. This is very much how it, this is probably how it would go down in a tournament, unless the healing was made illegal, in which case you'd probably consider something else in that ring slot. In the duels, oh boy, the duels. I did lose 1 or 2 actually, but I will say that I was probably being lazy in those fights. To tell you the truth, I wasn't really trying my best. I've been playing this game for a long time. Sometimes I just play on autopilot, but for the most part, I steamrolled everybody. Very, very easy. That's because one of the things you can do when you're thinking about playing a turtle build, the concept in your mind that you need to hold on to is that you need to play pure passive. Pure passive. You just, you let your opponent do all of the aggressive moves, and you do all of the punishing. And while you're doing that, you let your health regen take care of you. You know, Oak Shield, Sun Princess Ring, Filianor Chimes, Pray for Favor, whichever ones you can get out. You play pure passive, let your opponent do all of the approaching, and then you only swing when you can panic roll your opponent, or, punish their panic roll is what I mean, or you can outspace them. Maybe you baited one of their R1s, and if you do that, that's what makes this an S-tier weapon. That's what makes the Gotthard Knight Longsword an S-tier weapon. Because you have enough range to punish their roll and enough speed to kind of catch them when they're panic rolling away. At the same time, your approach is pretty fast. It's not bad. And you're very good at interrupting. And like I said, you can just outspace weapons. Like ultra weapons are very easy to outspace. You got the Black Knight Shield with you, so you can backstab fish, whatever you want to do. Now, let's talk a little bit about what makes the Gotthard Swords unique from the Gotthard Knight Longsword. So with the Gotthard Twinswords, you have the rolling attack. You have to dual wield in order to get that rolling attack out. And I feel like that's kind of the weakness to it. Kind of like how on the Ring Knight Straight Sword, you have to go into the stance before you can start using the Weapon R1. Well, it's kind of the same here. If you want to use the powerful rolling attack, first you have to dual wield, and if your opponent's kind of practiced and knows what the Gotthard Twinswords do, the moment they see you dual wield, they know you want the rolling attack. And as soon as you roll, they're just going to react to your roll by also rolling. It's kind of like what happens when you're fighting an Ultra Greatsword. If you see them rolling toward you, you have to react with the roll because they might be bringing out the rolling attack. So it's the same idea. So the rolling attack is just okay in my opinion. And then you have the weapon art, which can't be parried, but it doesn't matter because in very high-level duels, parries are very rare. They're a very high-risk thing to do. Usually, if somebody's trying to parry you, you can punish them very easily. And usually, parries don't do enough damage to one-shot you. If they do, great. I don't think I've ever fought any tryhards that have ever one-shot parried me. I have been one-shot parried before in the arena because I'm playing sloppy, but when you're really trying hard, right, you create rules in your head like, oh, he's got his parry tool out? Cool, I've got the dragon head shield, I've got the crossbow. Those can't be parried, and those are what I use to lead into my attacks. Right, like if I get them with the dragon head shield, that means I also get the R1 combo with my Gotthard Twinswords. Very safe way to approach your opponent if they got their parry tool out. And if they got their parry tool out, that means they don't have any good utility in their offhand unless it's blessed. I'm assuming it's blessed. But hey, it's not a big deal, right? You can push them with the dragon head shield, or you can push them with the crossbow, or you can put your own oak shield on and just play as passive as you want, right? That's the whole idea with this weapon. It's very annoying, actually. I've fought plenty of turtles at this point. Plenty of turtles. I assume some of you have fought them. It's kind of why I've avoided doing this weapon review, is because it's already kind of a popular build. A lot of the players already know about it. And for those of you that didn't know about it, here you go. Go out into the arena and blast people. That Black Knight shield, the stability on it is so good. I wish From would come and nerf that. It's just too good. Great shields should have that kind of stability, but medium shields, probably not. If you're fighting somebody who's got a pure physical weapon, like a Yorm's build, you just walk right up to them because they can't do anything about it. They have to have like an offhand man serpent hatchet or just something to deal with your shield. And when they have to deal with your shield, that means they're not using their weapon to its full potential. It means they're probably not two-handing their weapon, or they're just not using it the way they intended to use it. Alright, well that was a long ramble. Let me just mention that this weapon will rock the pants off of PvE. Is also probably going to do pretty well in invasions just because it's a straight sword. When it comes to invasions, I do favor one-shot weapons and poised weapons, but straight swords are so basic and so easy, and the Black Knight shield is so convenient. You're not gonna have too much trouble in invasions. I just don't think it'll be the best invasion weapon. As for the dual tier rating, it is going to get an S tier. I think that, in my opinion, the Gotthard Knight Longsword is the better weapon just because the weapon art is more valuable and the extra range on the Gotthard isn't that much. And like I mentioned earlier, I think the dual-wielded rolling attack, the L1, the rolling attack when you're dual-wielding isn't as good as you probably think it is. It used to be godly before From nerfed it. Everybody used the Gotthard Twinswords. It was insanely annoying. but they since nerfed it, and now people use it with the Black Knight shield. And the rolling attack, you can always kind of tell when it's coming out. So, and then the weapon art on the Gotthards is just kind of pointless. I got some people with it, but it was like, I might as well have just used a simple R1 and done about the same amount of damage, right? So yeah, but it is going to get an S tier rating because its ability to be basically a very long range straight sword, which we all know is good. It's infusible, and it works with all of the top tier utility items like Dragon Head Shield, Black Knight Shield, and the crossbow. Alright guys, that was a ton of rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what weapon you want to see next, and I will see you next time.